In the shadows he bore our pain, a silent warrior drenched in rain, stricken, smitten like a lamb to the slaughter, carrying the weight of the world, our Father. He walked through the darkness, no light in sight, rejection and sorrow, he fought the night. We thought he was cursed, but he took our blame. The scars on his body, a testament to shame. So sing it out, he was bruised for healing. In the depths we find our feeling, the anger, the hurt, it's all laid bare. In his suffering we find our prayer. So sing it out, he was crushed for our freedom. In the chaos we find the kingdom. The darkness may rise, but the light will prevail. In a sacrifice we will never fail. The world turned its back, but he stood tall, a rebel with a cause, answering the call. Betrayed and abandoned, yet he still believed in the hearts of the broken, the lost and deceived.
Hear me? Sorry about that. Hello, brothers and sisters. I had my mic turned off. Welcome to this short live edition of the Remnant Report. I'm sure there won't be a whole lot of you here because I didn't have much time to advertise. I actually tried to go live last night, but I wasn't able to. I talked to nothing but myself in the camera for literally 18 minutes. So I decided to do the channel update this morning, or this afternoon rather, really quick, and to give you guys a brief preview of what tonight's season finale is going to be about. First, allow me to apologize for just how long it's been since you've seen me, because I know it's been quite a while since you've not only seen me, but seen any kind of video from this channel except for a music video. And I think the audience has spoken on music from any genre on this channel, and that's cool. I know what you guys are used to, and I will try to play that from now on, or do programs on that from now on. 2025 is shaping up to be a prophetic year with prophetic significance, regardless of your eschatological views. Regardless of what your eschatology is, 2025 is shaping up to be a tremendously big year. I don't know what that means entirely, but I do know that there have already been things that have been leading up to 2025 throughout the past 4 years that at the very least we're going to see the beginnings of the culmination of everything from that's been laid out on the chessboard from 2001 to 2025. Now, I'm not saying that they started making their moves, and I think we all know who they is. The unseen hand is what I'll call the principalities, powers, and rulers of darkness that are behind the scenes. They obviously started putting their pieces on the board and moving them around all the way back in Genesis chapter 3, as soon as God made the first prophecy, prophesying the coming of Jesus. The enemy was on the warpath, from everything from the Watchers coming down and mating with human women to try and pollute the bloodline, and many other things that were done by the Watchers and Nephilim to try and keep the Messiah from being born. And you have to realize it's not just about keeping the Messiah from being born, but there's a reason why they are trying to keep the Messiah from being born. It's specifically to try to get out of judgment, for the same reason that you and I and our fallen flesh try to get out of trouble, we try to get out of punishment. That's all the enemy has done since, for the past 6,000 years at least. But in our lifetime, there has been a ramping up of their plans that they have literally laid out for us in detail if you look at the Albert Pike letter. And, you know, the man was not a prophet, people. If you don't know what the Albert Pike Giuseppe Manzini letter is, I would suggest Googling it between now and tonight, because I will be putting it up on the screen for you guys tonight. But the Manzini Pike letter literally laid out a plan for the New World Order that they wanted, the New Atlantis, the world government, but it was through 3 wars, 3 worldwide wars that literally were written down from one individual to another individual across the ocean, that lay out World War I, II, and III to a T, long before the First World War started. Albert Pike was a Civil War general. He lived and fought in the Civil War. Yet his letter to Giuseppe Manzini lays out what happened in World War I, World War II, and what we're seeing unfold right now in the world, which is going to culminate in the final war that a lot of people mistake to be 2 wars, but they're really only one. That is Armageddon and the Gog of Magog war. Now, I'm not going to get into all of that right now, but I will say this much about it to let you know what we're going to be talking about tonight, and that is the final war, the return of Christ, and the end times eschatology, beginning with the reign of Christ, that some people call the millennial reign, and ending with the last war that takes place before the judgment. Now, this is something that I've covered before, but it's not something that I've ever covered before the way you'll hear me talk about it tonight. And I can tell you there will be people that'll disagree with me. That's fine. But I would urge any of you who see this between now and tonight to watch with your Bibles everything that I show you and that I say. And as always, don't believe a word I tell you. Verify it yourself. Search the scriptures out in prayer like a good Berean, like the Bereans did. Find out if what I'm saying is true. I'm also going to be, and this, I'm transitioning. That was pretty much the preview of tonight's season finale, but the channel update for 2025 is this. A lot of you are aware that I've been doing a lot of stuff with music, more producing music than making music myself, but I have recorded my own music, but I'm pretty much done with recording anything. In 2025, I will not be mixing the music part of this ministry with this channel at all. And for all the people who scattered on out of here as soon as they heard the word music, you really missed a lot, because I wasn't getting off on the subject of music. I was telling you that I wasn't going to be putting any music on this channel. I'll be putting documentaries up, but in 2025, we're going to start with, we're going to try something new. I'm going to turn the advertisements completely off to make the videos 100% ad free unless YouTube puts ads on them. And I'm going to start channel memberships for anyone who would like to support this channel, but also because in 2025 I'm going to be offering the same courses in biblical Greek or Koine Greek that I teach in person. I'm going to be offering online via Skype to anyone who would like to take them, but for channel members, you'll automatically be able to either come to the live video conferences on Skype to take the biblical Greek, or you can just watch the recorded videos. Now, I will say this, there won't be any difference in what you'll hear or see if you just watch the recorded version. But if you come to the Skype classes, then you will be able to ask questions, get those questions answered. You'll be able to have fellowship that you wouldn't normally be able to have. And I can tell you that when you are able to be your own lexicon, you no longer need the Greek lexicons found in things like Blue Letter Bible, or, there's a lot of tools and resources out there. But if you're going to learn a language from the Bible, Greek is absolutely there. There are two things about Greek that you need to know. Number one, Greek is the language you need to learn for the Bible, because we do not have a single, not one single, original manuscript of the Bible in Hebrew. Every Hebrew manuscript that the King James Bible, or any Bible before the King James Bible, that was translated into any language except for Greek, and the only thing that was translated into Greek from Hebrew was the Septuagint itself. But other than that, there is not a single Bible, especially in English translation, that was translated from a Hebrew manuscript that wasn't made after the New Testament was written and finished. All the Hebrew manuscripts that the King James Bible were translated from were the Hebrew Masoretic. The Masoretes were a sect that not only translated their version of the Torah and the prophets and just what we call the Old Testament, but they also deliberately changed key prophecies both in the Hebrew Masoretic and before the Hebrew Masoretic, in what's called the Proto Masoretic, the pre Masoretic. They changed things in key prophecies in order to stop the extreme amount of their fellow Jews and, well, just Jews, but it could also hinder, I guess, Gentiles as well. But it was done to keep people who were in the religion of Judaism from seeing and believing that Jesus was the Messiah. Now, is that's probably not the only reason. Another reason is also because they wanted to use a Bible other than the Christians were using, which in the Proto-Masoretic, it was the Septuagint that the Christians were using. But then in the 5th century, Jerome went against the Bishop of Rome, who would eventually come to be known as the Pope. He went against his orders in creating a new translation. He was supposed to use the Septuagint for the new translation in Latin. Instead, he listened to the Jewish scribes of his time, and he created a translation that was from the New version that the Hebrews had transliterated from the Septuagint. They transliterated it. That means that they just took and changed one language to another. And at that time, they were all using the Septuagint, but they didn't want to use the same Bible as the Christians, so that's another reason why the Proto-Masoretic was written. And then the Masoretes just added the vowel points onto the Hebrew language. But back to what I was saying about the Greek language, and that is the Greek language is not only the language that you want to know in order to understand what the Bible is saying more than any other language, because in Old Testament scriptures, the oldest copies we have are in Greek, the Greek Septuagint, but also in the New Testament scriptures, there are two extremely important reasons. One, Jesus, the apostles, and the ante-Nicene church fathers all used the Greek Septuagint. And every time Jesus quoted from the Old Testament or the apostles, almost every time, not every time, but almost every time that Jesus or the apostles quote from the Old Testament, it's word for word what the Septuagint says. There are occasions when, well, it's always word for word what the Septuagint says, but there are occasions when the Masoretic also lines up with the Septuagint. So it isn't like there aren't any references to the Old Testament in, say, the King James or any other English translation that don't line up with what Jesus quotes or the apostles quote. But I would say if you look for yourselves, there are at least 80% of the Old Testament scriptures and prophecies that Jesus or Paul or even other places in the New Testament that go back to the Old and quote from the Old, like Peter does in Acts. If you go back in your King James Bible and read the things written in the Gospels from the Old Testament, you will think that there are discrepancies in the Bible. I mean, it'll almost make you say, wait a minute, how does this point to Jesus? When you look at the prophecy of the Messiah coming. But when you look at it in Greek, in the Septuagint, it is word for word exact and a match. And that's not just with what Jesus said, what the apostles said, but also with the prophecies that foretold the coming of the Messiah. And we can get so much deeper of an understanding of Scripture when we know what the original words are and mean. If you're able to look at the original Greek and know what the word means, know what the way a word is used in the language. Like, for instance, if we were to try and say, if you were someone from another country that spoke another language that didn't know English, and you were reading an English book that used modern day English vernacular, such as, man, that's the coolest phone I have ever seen, or that's the coolest car I've ever seen. Someone who doesn't know English terminology, slang, and definitions of how words are used, definitions and how words are used, then they are going to read that, and if even if they learn the language, they are going to read it and they're going to think that the car is cold to the touch. They're not going to understand that it means a nice car or an awesome car. But even all the way down to the word awesome doesn't mean, in today's language, the original definition of the word. Uh, Words and languages and dictionaries are always changing. Language is something that is not easy to understand. It's not something that's easy to learn or to teach in most cases, because it is constantly changing. It's not like math or science that have laws that can't be broken. You know what I mean? Like math, 1 plus 1 will always equal 2. But that's not the way it is with language. When you get into language, the word cool doesn't always mean the opposite of the word warm. You know, and sometimes the words cool and hot mean the same thing or very close to it. If you say something like, that guy's cool, or that girl's cool, or that guy's hot, or that girl is hot, depending on who you are and what your sexual orientation is, what your whether you're male or female. Uh, you know, you're could be saying the very same thing about that person. If you say that guy's cool, then it's the same as saying that car's cool. You're not talking about the temperature of the person. And if you say that guy is hot, once again, you're not talking about the temperature of the person. So, cool, cold, warm, hot are just two examples in the English language of how words, you can know a word and know its original definition, read it in a sentence, and still get the meaning of the sentence completely wrong. It is the absolute same with the Greek language. What you have to understand is that the Bible, both Old and New Testament, were written during a specific. First of all, the Old Testament was written over a long span of time. And although it was written by the same culture of people and the same religion, it was, culture and religion changes. Look how much Christianity has changed since its foundation and beginnings with Jesus Christ, all the way to today in the year 2024, almost 2025. Look how much it's changed. A tremendous amount. Well, it is exactly the same with, you know, ancient, original Israelite religion, the worship of the God of Israel, of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Um, their cultures changed, their religion changed. There are times in the Torah and the Psalms, and the Psalms is another thing that was written not only over a long period of time, but it was written by quite a few different authors. And the entire Bible was written by many different authors. And so anytime you have a language that changes the way it does, the way all languages do, then you have to understand. Hey, sister, I don't know if you just came in, but if you did, I would seriously suggest when this is over and I'm almost done, going back and watching from the beginning, because I was making announcements for the channel in 2025, what we were going to be doing, but also I was giving a preview of tonight's season finale. I was trying to do all that using this new vertical live stream, or I think it's called maybe portrait live stream, where I don't think you can do it from anything but a cell phone. So that's what I'm on right now. That's why if you see my hands close to the cameras, because I'm on my cell phone, because I don't think you can use a vertical stream from a computer. If you can, I don't know how. And plus, last night's video that I did, where I sat there and for 18 minutes literally talked to myself. I was on my computer trying to live stream without streaming software, and let's just say it didn't work out. But the video, I still have it, and I'm going to use it in tonight's live stream. I haven't decided whether it's going to be an actual live stream or if I'm going to play a pre-recorded video live. That way I can be inside the chat with you guys. Because I'm going to be on my computer either way, and I type extremely slow, so it's hard for me to converse with people in the chat on my computer, but while I'm streaming. But in any case, I don't see any difference. I'm using streaming software right now. And so if there's anything on YouTube that shows up when you do this vertical stream, I don't see it, because it's not showing up in the Prism Live Studio that I use. A lot of people use things like Streamlabs OBS or StreamYard or other streaming softwares, but I've used Prism for 5 years and it's always worked for me, so I just stuck with it. However, tonight's episode I was telling is going to be an end times episode. It's going to be talking about 2025, things that I think could possibly happen, but aren't for sure. But I do definitely think that we're going to see the culmination of, regardless what your view of the end times is, I mean, unless you're a full preterist that believes Jesus has already returned, then regardless of your view on eschatology, 2025, in my opinion, is going to be a very big year in Bible prophecy. There are going to be major things that take place. And, you know, even if you are someone who doesn't believe in the Bible, which, you're already lost right there if you don't believe the Bible. It's really not going to matter whether you believe what I say tonight if you don't believe the Bible. But let's say you don't. Then what I'm going to be talking about tonight is still important, because the things that are going to happen, and trust me, something is going to happen in 2025. Regardless to whether you believe it's prophecy or not, it's going to be big and it's going to affect you. And I appreciate you tuning in for the time you did, sister, and I will look forward to seeing you tonight. Enjoy your lunch. Regardless to what you believe about the end times, I believe that you're going to see that the things I point out tonight are true. And before we close this out, I just want to point out that the reason why I did this vertical stream is the same reason why I'm going to be switching from ads to the channel memberships, and trust completely in the Lord to provide for this ministry. For those of you who aren't aware, YouTube is a very, very small part of what we do. I make YouTube videos, but this podcast, I've been doing it for going into my 6th year. But this ministry started off as a Christian addiction support ministry, and it will always have that part at its core. We will always have a side, a part, a wing, whatever you want to call it. We're going to have a department that reaches out to people that are caught up in drug addiction, because the whole reason that God allowed me to go through the drug addiction I went through, the whole reason that God had my family put up with and have to suffer through the years of my drug addiction was so they would be able to talk to, support, and help the families of other people going through drug addiction. Just like I have been able to help other people who are going through drug addiction. So that is one part of this ministry. We have a gospel outreach. We have a music ministry. We are an independent book publisher. there are so many things that this ministry does, including evangelism and revivals. Um, at the moment, I am the only ordained minister, but there have been times where we've had three ordained ministers who were doing evangelism, and there have been times we've had three podcasts that, were doing episodes of a podcast at least weekly, and there was one of those programs doing daily episodes, and I was producing the episodes of all three. Thankfully, I'm the only podcast we have right now because I wouldn't be able to do any of the other things. However, the other things cost money. We still are, even though we're not of this world, we still live in this world. And those things cost money. Now, thank God this ministry is able to be maintained for not, it doesn't cost a whole lot of money to maintain the needs and the bills that we have, but and we have been, God has provided every month, but a lot of times the way that he's provided is because I've had to, he's provided it to me and I've just reached in my pocket and given it. um, I do a lot of the work that's done, regardless to whether what part of the Kingdom Productions and Publishing it is. I do counseling work. I do discipleship work. I teach biblical languages. I preach. I make documentary videos. I host this podcast. Um, I make music my own, and right this second, one other groups and one other solo artist. We technically have two other solo artists, although one of those two live in Africa, and because I am locked out of my Facebook at the moment, I haven't been able to talk with Emmerich, and he has never published anything with us, although he has published and produced quite a bit of music. There was a good while that his YouTube channel was larger than ours, and I'm sure that it's still larger than ours. If not, then we're extremely close. But he's my brother. I love him, and regardless to whether he's producing his music on his own or with us, I mean publishing it, it makes no difference to me. Our music ministry is something like publishing music, producing music. I don't charge anybody a dime to do it. These now three guys and one young lady I work with uh, in Garden City and Surfside Beach, I don't charge them a thing for the music that I mix, produce, and publish for them. Um, I hope I am never at a place to where I have to charge anybody for anything like that. Book publishing, we don't charge to publish books. Ghostwriting, I don't charge for. I've written songs, books, all kind of things. Um, I don't charge anything for the classes. Now, the YouTube advertisements have paid the majority, or at least half, of our bills, and I've paid the other half out of my pocket. But hopefully YouTube will become something in 2025 and moving forward that will pay for everything that this ministry does. There are so many things that we want to do and could do right now, like a mission trip. We not only want to take a mission trip, but we would already be on the mission trip. We would have already done it if we had the funds, but we don't. As far as doing the podcast, making videos, um, I pretty much have to do it with what I have laying around the house. Like, my phone was destroyed and my laptop just quit working. And so, right this second, I'm streaming from a phone that's connected to our Wi-Fi here at home, but it doesn't have service. I can't call anybody from it. There's no number to it. My phone itself, brand new phone, haven't even had it a year. I set it down in my dog's room, walked out, came back, the phone was chewed up in pieces. So not only was my phone destroyed, but I was also not able to get on things like Facebook. And thank the Lord that I was already on YouTube on my computer, or I'd be out of luck there too. But that is the reason for the delay in the amount of time it's been since the last video I did on the Mandela effect and this video, or even the amount of time between the Mandela effect and the last music video. But I hope that I will see all of you tonight. It will be, I put it in the post, the YouTube post, but we will be doing the live stream, the season finale, at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So wherever you're at in the world, or wherever you're at in the U.S. or whatever country you live in, your time zone is most likely different than mine unless you live on the East Coast of the United States. But that is literally going to do it for this episode. But in closing, I am going to play the entire video that we played in our introduction. So I will close us out with this. Until next time, I'm the Remnant Warrior saying grace, peace, and God bless you.
In the shadows he bore our pain, a silent warrior drenched in rain, stricken, smitten like a lamb to the slaughter, carrying the weight of the world, our Father. He walked through the darkness, no light in sight, rejection and sorrow, he fought the night. We thought he was cursed, but he took our blame. The scars on his body, a testament to shame. Oh, sing it out, he was bruised for healing. In the depths we find our feeling. The ache and the hurt, so laid bare. In his suffering we find our prayer. So sing it out, he was crushed for our freedom. In the chaos we find the kingdom. The darkness may rise, but the light will prevail. In a sacrifice we will never fail. The world turned its back, but he stood tall. A rebel with a cause, answering the call. Betrayed and abandoned, yet he still believed. In the hearts of the broken, the lost and deceived, he faced the wrath, the agony, the scorn, a crown of thorns from the moment he was must crush for our freedom. In the chaos